Hi everyone, my name is James Feeney. Welcome to or back to my channel. We are here with the third and final part of at least the Oracle deck, my Oracle deck collection. So there will be tarot to come, but as far as Oracle decks go, this is the last video. I am really hoping there aren't any that I forgot about in various drawers and things. Now that I mentioned that, I see a few on the side that I will grab. And it is funny, I should have said that and that be the case. So, let's see. So yeah, we'll get right into it. I'm hoping, these are turning into longer videos. Perhaps I should have done more parts. Either way, the entirety of it would be about the same. I think I'm moving at a decent pace. So yeah, it's just the parts themselves that are a bit long. First, we'll start with my one and only Lenormand deck, and I'm including this in just the Oracle because, yes, I guess in some ways, there's a lot of sounds going on right now, I apologize. But yeah, this is my one and only Lenormand deck. I am not a fluent reader of Lenormand. I have one book on Lenormand that I have not finished, so I am not using this very often, but this is the one this is the Sawyer's Lenormand by Jamie Sawyer. She's a great creator. She does Lenormand tiles and tarot tiles that she makes just per order or on demand, I guess. And she's just a great artist. So make sure we get all these. I think someone's doing work outside, so if you hear that, that's what that is. And even her business card is really cool. They come in just a little tuck box. They're about playing card size, which, I mean, Lenormand tend to be. And it's that almost old school tattoo art style. I'm not so familiar with Lenormand, but I don't really like the ones that have the actual picture of the card at the top. To me, most of the time it's distracting. But in some instances I like it, and I'm sure, I mean, it is useful in that these all do have a card connection to playing cards, so. But I find this art style particularly appealing and nice. Appealing, what am I saying? I am trying to film all of these, or at least the whole Oracle portion in one day, so I guess I'm getting a bit loopy. I have the time to do it, and so I am. But I guess I'm almost showing you all of the cards. Lenormand decks, as you know, do not have many cards. So that is them. They are on a nice cardstock that's semi-glossed and decently thick, but not too thick. So yeah, I recommend these. These are the backs. And I know that sometimes these aren't available and sometimes they are, but I don't think they're out of print exactly, so you should be able to get them on Etsy through Jamie Sawyer. She's also on Instagram. As I can't get this in there. Silly me. So yes, that is the Sawyer's Lenormand. A beautiful deck. And next we will do the Birds Oracle, created by Jessica Blaine Smith, and illustrations are by Mia Emily Freeman, and these can be found on Etsy. Nice gold foiled. This box is just a really nice texture for a tuck box. There are 44 cards. They are all birds. There is a wonderful guidebook, which you do have to buy separately, but I think you pretty much should have if you are getting this deck. This is one where the guidebook, in my opinion, is a bit non-negotiable. These are the backs. They are a really thick card that has a really lush, like rose petal finish, one of the better ones. However, this might just be my copy, but it does have a little bit of almost streaking. I don't know if you can see that in certain lights where I don't know if that will come up even at all, but mine seems to have a little bit of streaking in how that was almost applied to the cardstock, but it's not anything major and it just shows in some lighting. No biggie though. The artwork is quite breathtaking. It's, I wouldn't say photoreal, but it's quite realistic in nature. And the birds are the pop of color. The backgrounds fluctuate between this deep gray, and the white and black. So it's quite monochromatic with pops of color for the birds. They are all numbered where you would find them in the guidebook. You get a bit of a story. A lot of the time there is a personal story connected to them, which is why they were featured. But there's also divinatory and almost an energetic type of message behind it. And usually they have to do with growth, moving on, getting through things that you might need to see or do or feel. So they're great for people and for pulling for yourself and others in readings. So I wouldn't say they are good for a whole reading that is just itself, but pulling one card or featuring a card in a reading is usually where I find that they work best. And they're just fun to shuffle because of the card stock and the artwork. And this is just one where I usually pull one card on its own and work with that for a while. And a little kiwi, so cute. So yeah, it's the Bird Oracle. And on the tuck box, the upper part, it says, "You are loved," which I think is very sweet. And I know she had a class based around this deck, and there might be another deck coming. I could be wrong. That might just be something I imagined in my head. But she did have a class for this, and maybe she will do more of them. I don't know if they're available now, but that would be interesting and fun. So next we have medicine cards. Revised Expanded Edition, The Discovery of Power Through the Way of Animals by Jamie Sams and David Carson. Illustrations by, they really don't like to credit the illustrator. They're always so small and in the bottom, and I don't like that. Illustrations by Angela Wernicke, I believe. Now I'm noticing that they're really like not very good about crediting illustrators when really that's the not the majority, but like we're really looking at the illustrations. So like they're worthy of crediting at least as big as the authors. Now, these cards I really enjoy. Why did that one get all turned around? What is going on? Oh, there are, okay, so there, that's why I had it like that. Okay. Me getting sorted out. Okay, the guidebook to this is pretty essential, otherwise you won't really know what's going on with any of these images. It's a thick hardcover guidebook, so the overall box is pretty large, and it goes into a lot of depth about sort of almost shamanic or native themed, wherever these animals are from, speakings on the various animals depicted. These are the backs, which I don't particularly like. I don't feel that they fit the coloring and the design, and it just doesn't really go for me. But the cardstock is really not good. I'm not too hard on my cards, and very quickly things would happen to them where there'd be little bends or creases, or just things would happen because they're about as thin as paper, and it's difficult. If any little thing were to happen, they won't hold up. And so that's unfortunate. I believe there are, I want to say there's 40 some odd cards. Does it say? It probably says on like the box of the book. But yes, they are all animals. The lessons and the healing and they're just so spot on. The writing in the book is well done, and so the book is really why I love this deck. And even if I didn't have the deck, I would keep the book and reference the book, or maybe even do some like bibliomancy with the book and flipping to various pages. But yeah, the cards are nice, but the book is what I really enjoy about this. And the book is on my bookshelf. It's a little bit of a bigger book, and so I don't keep the deck with that. But these are the cards, and then we also get cards that you can make your own archetypes or animals, add your own if they aren't featured on here, and there's even sections in the book to then add the sort of listing for whatever it is that you might put on these, so you can like draw, cut and paste something on them. So it's kind of cool that they give you these. I haven't used any of them, and just like the little card that comes with it. And so that's the medicine cards. So if any of you are deck modifiers out there, this would be maybe one to read back, just because they are so thin. Get in there. And the tuck box top is just like, it's one of those ones that doesn't like to But yeah, that's them. So next we will do Carolyn Miss or Mize archetype cards, an 80 card deck with an instruction booklet. Does she do both the book and the... I think she did both, yes. I just wanted to make sure if there was 2 different people or more people working on this that I got them. So it comes in this hard box, and yeah, it's a bit tough to open. And it comes with a chunkier guidebook. Oh, and if you guys have noticed my fingers, especially on my left hand, that middle finger is a little bit dinged. He's a little bit injured at the moment. We had a few random accidents, and for some reason my left middle finger took the hit. So that's what's going on over there. Side note, I guess. And so this is the book. Goes into a lot on each. So you get an archetype. Here, I'll show you. Again, this one has that sort of thing where you can add your own, which is nice. So I'll put those to the side. And so the 80 include these. So I think there's how many of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 74 of these. And you get a light attribute and a shadow attribute to each. So like we have the dilettante, and then what that would mean in its best sense, what it would mean as a shadow. And some archetypes that are would be connoted as good, like a teacher, you get the shadow. But then we also get some archetypes that we have different aspects of the child. There's the light and the shadow of the child magical. So there's multiple forms of child here. But we have like the rebel, the judge. I'm trying to find some that see like we have ones like prostitute and how that can be seen in its various lights. Trickster, which we might necessarily like put in a more negative category to some degree, but then the good and the bad, servant, virgin, goddess. I would say that there's a bit more, it's balanced in gender, but there's a bit more feminine depictions and archetypes, it feels like, in this. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. The artwork is nice, although it's quite small in the center. I think that this is just a unique deck to use to investigate different aspects of the self or others in readings. And so for that reason, I find it to be very useful, and that I haven't really seen anything like this out there. And I got it for really cheap at a secondhand store, and it was in perfect condition and no cards were missing. So it was hard to pass up, and I think I would still, luckily I found it in that circumstance, but I think it's also worth actually just buying. I don't think it's too much on Amazon. So yeah, and these are the backs, which I actually think are very pretty. And it's a bit of a glossier cardstock, pretty thick, and they hold up well, and they're nice. Not the easiest to shuffle, and they're a little bit bigger than tarot. They're like normal oracle size, but nothing wild. And so that's them. And the guidebook is really nice in going into some further depth on the cards and archetypes as overall, how she sees them, how Carolyn Miss sees them. So that's an interesting deck, a unique deck. So put that with these guys, and we will bring out them. Okay, we'll feature these 2 together. Forest of Precious Twigs, Where We Meet, and the We Star Oracle, Reclaiming Self. So they're both 34 cards, and both the writing and the images are done by Trisha Murray. And I know that a lot of these are often purchased together, which is what I did, because we all like to have bigger oracle decks. And so these are the same size and similar format, so they can be combined, which actually I think, yeah, they already are combined, because the We Star has this bit, and then Precious Twigs has this bit. So I just divided them between the 2 boxes, but both boxes contain a little bit of both, so we will show them together. And one side has the artwork, and the other side will have the meaning. So there are suits in a way, so like growth, and they are numbered, which makes it easier for you to... I forget if there's even a thing to reference, is there? Or is it just telling us that there's an order? Yeah, there's not really like a guidebook or anything. Yeah. Which in a way is nice. You just go off of the images and what's there, and you get a nice little passage. So here's some of the art to give you an idea. The art in both is similar, but there's some stylistic differences from one to the other. I know, I'm trying to think which one's more black and white and which one has more color in it. But it's when you put them together, you're not noticing any wild differences because it's the same artist trying to kind of keep to a similar style. And oh, I guess I kept that that card got in the middle. But they're just so different and mysterious and profound and deep and vague in a way that makes you think, and that there's a lot of different types of meanings to be had. Like we have the skeleton here. This is the pause, a deep breath taken before a journey, the space between all things, within all things, an infinite place where new ideas, new ways of being can take form. Awareness. And so each card gets its own passage. Some are a little bit longer than others. Here, I'll keep these separate so that way we don't get too many in each box. Some are dark and twisted, some are bright and happy, some are just a bit confusing. And so this one's a very different card compared to a lot of them in my opinion, and it's really nice actually. But yeah, some of them are quite archetypal, and like you have like a small baby being held in hands, quite bright. Some have almost like just a starburst or light, and so there's not really a scene. I guess that got mixed in there. And there's usually more to the image than meets the eye, something going on that you aren't quite seeing unless you really look. And so that can be fun to find the layers in the images. Some are abstract, some are more straightforward. And then we get a bunch of these. Movement, growth, the various categories. And so those are a lot of fun. And they're nice to have in terms of maybe pulling one card. It's not really one I would do a whole reading with unless it was a single card reading based all on the one image and message, but they are really fun. And sometimes fun to just add to a reading as a wrap up or something. So next we have, in this black bag, these are by Patrick Valenza. They are the Witch's Oracle. Does I have the card with it? I didn't keep it all together. I just put the deck in the bag. But it's by Patrick Valenza, so head to his website. You know, he does the Deviant Moon Tarot and the Mildred Payne Pocket Oracle. He has and the Triomphe de la Luna Marseille style deck. So just head to his website and you can get this. So I think you can only get it from his website. So they're a mix. I think most of them are done horizontally, and there's a PDF that came with it. I don't think you can get the tangible book, but the PDF is really helpful. These have sort of tricky meanings, which you can usually get within the picture, but a lot of them have scary imagery or imagery that's a bit off-putting or frightening, or you just would think that all of them were somewhat negative, but some of them have positive connotations, and there's a story behind these images. So not all is as bad as it seems in a way, and there's something I think that's beautiful about that. The cards are a bit larger than tarot, but they kind of keep that same sort of ratio of height to width, and then the backs look like this, which I like. And it reminds me of like old school witchcraft, almost depicted in a really bad light or in a weird light, but I like it for that. It's fun around maybe the fall season, but I think it's great year round. And the PDF I think just adds so much in terms of like the story, and there's a lot of humor in this deck, and a lot of the cards being just not as though, like, not what they seem. Like this card I think has more of a negative connotation actually, where the black cat that looks a bit off-putting has a nicer meaning behind him. So these are fun, very different. And if you like the sort of horizontal style with this artwork, it's a lot of fun. So that's that. So next we'll go over here. Okay. This is it Brian Froud's Fairy Oracle, I believe. And I know many of you are probably familiar with this thing from the bag. These are the backs, which is also one of the card fronts. These are all the backs. The cardstock's not amazing. It's about tarot sized or so, and there's 40 some odd, I want to say. There might be 50 something, either 40 something or 50 something cards. I guess they are numbered, so maybe if we see a high number we'll be able, oh, it goes as high as 60s, so I guess it's just that the cardstock is really thin, which it is. It's quite thin. It doesn't bother me, but that's just something to keep in mind. And I did have a copy that came that was quite damaged, with a lot of the edges like really messed up and pushed in, and it got kind of weird. This one's not as bad, and this was the replacement. But there's a really nice hardcover book that comes with it, and then these are all various fairies. Some are a bit more energetic, spiritual, and yeah. And then we have some that are more tangible, so it really covers the spectrum of potentially different types of fairies, or different ways that we see fairies, or that they can be depicted or exist in a way. The artwork is stunning. The book really goes above and beyond. A lot of people will reference this as being a bit of a trickster in terms of the deck and the energies. Each fairy is like its own energy. It's kind of relating to who it is that is being depicted, like Penelope, Dreamweaver, and they offer a divinatory message, but a lot of them are like fairies and the fair folk, maybe tricky and clever. So there's that, and it's just a really fun one, and I think it's pretty well-rounded, and one that you can actually make very interesting, unique readings around, like full readings. But pulling one card for simplicity and ease is often the way I will use it, and then referencing the book. So that is what I believe is called the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. Next we will go to, keep it in this box. This is one of my first Oracle decks. I didn't get into Oracle all that long ago, but this was one of my first, and it comes with a die, because there's a game in order to, like, if you choose to use the die to pick cards. So say I wanted to know about my travel coming up, and I would roll the die and I would get a 5, so we would use the 5 card reading option to best answer my inquiry. So that's what that's for, and you get that little card for that, and then you get this pamphlet which goes into a bit of each card's meaning. You don't get a ton, but the actual names are pretty much, they've summarized exactly what the card is about, so you just get a sentence or two for each. And this is the Synchronicity Oracle deck. It's 77 cards, and it's designed by Kathy Nichols, and you can, I believe, get this on Etsy. I'm not sure if this one is available. It might be in a different edition now or something, but and it came in this, I guess, what are these called? Gossamer bags. And these are the backs, which I find to be quite pretty. And they're about standard tarot size. Semi-gloss, but not really. Borderless, which I know a lot of people like. Thin, but not too thin cardstock. I would say like 310 maybe GSM or something around there. And they're 77, so for people who like those larger decks, Oracle decks that are almost equivalent to tarot in a way in terms of size and scope, this is one for you, just like the Illuminated Earth Oracle, which I mentioned in the last part. But you get these really interesting, so blocked, but then change the perspective. That's a cool one. Eagle, this one's one that you kind of might want to, in a way, reference the pamphlet, but I think it has a lot to do with like view and vision. Leader, so it's like various mediums used, slightly collage, but like real world collage, not photo manipulated collage, and then also I believe it's paint and things like that used. And they're just so fun and colorful and bright, and they are quite balanced as well, so you could use this in place of tarot for a full reading with a lot of depth and intricacy and nuance, because you have ones like Success, Storyteller, there are ones Rise, Storm, which is a little bit more negative, Fall, you get all the seasons and how they might fit in terms of a card, Wisdom, the World, so some mirror tarot. There's an Empress, there's the World, there might be the Sun, I think there's a Magician, Change, Finder of Lost Things, the Raven, Reflection, so they're just really, yeah, the Magician. But yeah, this is a great one. It's tried and true. I love it. It's an oldie but a goodie for me, as somebody who hasn't been working with Oracle for the longest time, but this was a great way to get me into it. I recommend it highly. Oh wait, might want to put the card with the, we'll just leave that with that. Okay, put you back in the box. Put that in there. I just happen to have gotten the box around the same time, so that I got the deck, which is why it's in there, and I just haven't switched it. So this is the Dow Oracle, an illuminated new approach to the I Ching by Ma Deva Padma, and she did the artwork, I believe, for the Osho Zen Tarot. There's 64 cards in this, as one would think when we are approaching the I Ching, and a book from the creator of the Osho Zen Tarot, or 64 cards and a book from the creator of the Osho Zen Tarot. Wait, this is when we pull the top. I almost wanted to think it was like a magnetic one for some reason. So you get the thing, the cutout almost, where they go in, but it's one of those plastic ones where they can't slip to the side. The card stock is lovely. They're not a massive Oracle deck, but they are bigger than tarot size. They have this matte but not rose petal. They don't stick very much. They're thick, but in a way that's super pliable. And so it's just really great. And these are the backs. You see the different hexagrams and the elements that as pertain to this, not the 4 elements that you might think of. And so this is how they go, and you get these various I Ching related symbols and hexagrams, but you don't need to really know any of that in order to use this, because you get a really nice image. The artwork is nice. It's very descriptive and unique and beautiful and detailed. And then you get the number, you get a keyword or what it's called, not the keyword, but what it's called. And then you do get some keywords to associate with it. So you could use this with no knowledge of the I Ching or the Tao or any of that. And I wouldn't say I am the most knowledgeable in this area, but it's something that I am working on. And so here are some of the cards. This one's just so beautiful, and there are certain art styles that appeal to me more, and this is one that really grabs me. And of course the I Ching is its own divination system, so this is very well-rounded, can be used for very complex readings. It's actually quite different, but similar to tarot at the same time. I think it's just a different lens. How many will say that the tarot is a way of seeing, a lens through seeing the entire universe, or supposed to be able to depict the entire universe. I feel that this is similar in a way, but just, through a different lens. So it's its own system, very old system that predates most of what we would think tarot to be, as far as we know. So yeah, it's just done really well. And then if you aren't familiar with the I Ching, or even at all Taoism, we have the book, and the book is very detailed. It's very thorough, and there's a lot here. So you get, of course, all of the cards with detailed descriptions letting you know what's going on, a lot of the background in terms of the I Ching and the Tao, and there's almost like a primer on the I Ching. You can learn it through this book, and you are also, of course, learning about Taoism at the same time. So there's that, and you get more going on at the end that even goes past what the cards are, which is nice, and the book is really substantial. So if you wanted to learn about Taoism and the I Ching, this wouldn't be a terrible place to start if you wanted to just dive in. So that is that, the Dow Oracle. Moving right along. So we will do this guy. This is the Labyrinth Oracle by Kathy Pullen, and it's her brother. Her brother was the author. Wait, maybe it says it on here. Oh yeah, Kathy and Walter Pullen, a sibling team, and these are the backs. It's the Labyrinth Oracle. I think that there may be different backs now. I got this about a year ago. And this came with it. You can get different options, and Kathy actually makes bags, tarot oracle bags, and this one's double lined. It's like one of my nicer bags, and I just am very happy about it. And it has these little metal pieces so the ends don't get too frayed or messed up. And yeah, it's just a nice bag. You can also head to their Etsy, not just for the deck but for the bags, and I believe they have an Instagram as well. And she's just such a pleasure to work with. And there is, I don't know if there's a hard copy or like a physical copybook, but there's an extensive PDF that is, this is its own system. It's a very long, like not long, but complex system. There was a lot of time. I know they spent multiple years working on this deck, and the system reflects that. So I don't know where to even begin. I won't try to get into it too detail, and it's such a, I won't really get into it. Yeah, but there is a really extensive PDF on the system. There are suits. All of this takes place in a labyrinth. This deck is very complex for an oracle. There are over 100 cards, and there's a lot going on. The card stock is like a semi-gloss, but it's thin but not too thin, and you can riffle shuffle it pretty well. It's nice considering it's over 100 cards and it's like this, but the card stock is still pretty sturdy. You get these were hand done by Kathy Pullen with, I believe it was color pencil. I could be wrong. So you get kind of like a keyword or who's in this. So this is Icarus, and you get the Visionary, Trapdoor, which is something that a lot of these are actually, you see it and you know that you are within a labyrinth, and Trapdoor is surprise. So you get what's going on, who it is, and then you get the keyword and a number. And then there's suits, so like the 8 of Obelisks, Sharing, Corner, Restriction, King of Obelisks, Teaching, 4 of Obelisks, Doubt. This is very balanced. It pulls no punches, and it is, it gets you thinking. It's quite profound in that way. So if you are looking for a complex system to really immerse yourself in, and something that's going to push you as a reader, I think that this does that. I think that there's a lot going on here that you could dig into and be interested in for a long time to come, and it's a great one. It was on the earlier end of my Oracle, like when I started to get into Oracle, and I think I bit off more than I could chew at the time, but I've come some ways with it, and we have a nice relationship now. Put that over there. And we will move into the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck, a 65 deck and guidebook by John Holland. Did he do all of it? Yeah, I think he did. Okay. And it says it's called the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck, and it's kind of a mix between tarot and oracle. It's essentially tarot, but without the quartz, and then you get chakra cards. So, yeah, tarot without the quartz and then chakra cards. You get a nice chunky book that gives you a nice bit on each card, which is, yeah, it's good. And the cardstock is, well, they're gold gilded. It's about decently thick. It's not the best cardstock. It's really not. It's thick but kind of cardboardy, and doesn't hold up all that well. But yeah, and these are the backs. And so the colors connote the suit, and going through they have them in all different directions, I guess. Didn't know I was doing reversals of this one. But yeah, so they do correlate to various suits, and then you'll get keywords, and then the black ones are all majors, like with the black borders. And then there are chakra cards. So it is, in my head it's more of an oracle, but I can bring my knowledge of tarot into it for help and guidance and to expand upon any of these cards at any given time. So it's nice if you're somewhere in between, if you're moving from oracle to tarot or tarot to oracle, this might be a good place to start because it's a little bit of a hybrid. The artwork is nice. It's not my absolute favorite, but it's of course very well done. It's just more so my preference than anything. But yeah, I do enjoy it. It's a nice one. And the chakra cards are welcome and nice change of pace to be able to use those. Okay, moving on. Next we have the Empathic Oracle by Steve Wilson and Michelle Matuzas. And this is a nice little one. It comes in this magnetic box, but it's cute and small. And we get this chunky guidebook, which is very helpful. You get the color images, and there's a lot to go on. They make you think, they ask you questions, and that's really welcome in a guidebook for me, so that you aren't just getting your question answered, you're almost being asked to answer your own question, but it guides you in a way, so it's not just totally leaving you high and dry. These are the backs, and it is gold gilded. The cardstock's not amazing. It's matte and decently thick, but there's just something about it quality-wise that isn't the best. I don't know how else to put it, but it could be a lot worse, and I think that the artwork is actually really nice, and for me, cardstock is not everything, so yeah, there are numbers, and I believe chakras are also in here. This is a lot about self-worth, self-help, understanding the self, introspection, and self-discovery. So yeah, chakra cards, but they're not just showing you the generic symbol of the chakra with a color. They give you a unique image, and a lot of these, I just like this art style personally, so that's probably part of the appeal for me. So yeah, I like this one quite a bit, and it's nice when you are kind of, I don't know, feeling as though you want to have an inner dialogue, and you can use these cards to start that up, which is, I guess, an interesting, weird way of putting it, but yeah. So that was the Empathic Oracle. We're almost to the end, folks. Next we have the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards, a 52 card deck and guidebook by Denise Lynn. I keep dropping it. It's a heavy one. Comes in a nice hard box. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this might have been my first Oracle deck. It was just really cheap on Amazon, and I wanted to test the waters. And so I got this. It has a nice chunky guidebook, which goes into detail. I think that this guidebook is, you don't really need it, because there's a lot to go on with the cards. These are the backs. They're very pretty. Not my favorite, but they are pretty. It's objectively speaking, just not my style. And it's a nice cardstock. I would say they're bigger than tarot, but not by all that much. And they're matte and they're thick. And surprisingly, for the cost, the cardstock is pretty nice. So you get these images which are really soft and remind me of a storybook. And there's the key word or the key little phrase, and then you get a slight expansion upon that, or a quote, almost as if someone's speaking at the bottom. And these are, they're not quite affirmations. I would say they are a bit action-oriented. It's the Sacred Traveler Oracle, so it's asking you to do something, to move in a certain way, or to understand something. Whether you're being called to physically move, or to understand something differently, or mentally make a jump, or to prepare. So I actually do really like these cards, and there is a special place in my heart for them. I don't use them all that much, but I can't bring myself to get rid of them either. There's just something so cute and nice. I guess maybe it's my inner child that likes looking at them, or occasionally using them and bringing them into a reading. They're whimsical, they're nice, they're light. So it is an inexpensive option, and I think this is, yeah, for a certain type of person, really nice. And I think you get all you need from the card, that you don't really need to go into the guidebook. So that's one thing to keep in mind, although the guidebook is nice and there's something to it. There's some meat to it. But yes, that is the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards. And we are at our last one. The final Oracle deck is The Divas of Creation, Working with the Energies of the Universe by Sela Conway, who is also the creator of I think it's the Intuitive Tarot, which we will see when we get to the tarot portion of the deck, of my deck collection. So it comes in this nice bigger hard box, and then the cards are divided side by side because the deck is a bit bigger. So I'll flip that out. Put that over there, and then I keep the book on the bottom. Oop, that card just went all over. So there are, how many cards are in this? There's a lot. I believe there's 72. There are 72 cards in this deck. So it's a big one for people who like those Oracle decks that are well-rounded and expansive and have a lot of different types of things going on. The guidebook is nice, and you get the full color image, and there's a lot to go behind it. And this deck is very universal. It has to do with creation and being and existence, and there's a lot to it, and it makes you think about yourself and your place in the universe and what exists and all of that. So those bigger questions that we ask are broached in this, I would say. And these are the cards, these are the backs. It is not the best card stock, and I love this deck to death, but it really isn't the best card stock. There are a lot of cards that are, the thickness is alright, although it could be, the actual material could be a bit better, but a lot of them are just, they showed up very scuffed on the back. I don't know if it'll show up, like it's not, I haven't had this for very long, but it just showed up kind of all scuffed on various ones, and I don't know what that's about, but it doesn't bother me too much. So some are very abstract, and some are more earthly, and you can kind of see that that's probably water, and you see the tree in the pool or the pond here. And then some are planets, and some are more idea-based, and there's just a lot going on, and a lot to draw from. Some feel like more energetic beings. We have like lightning here. This looks like an angel, or some winged person, spirit. This could be like a galaxy. And sometimes you aren't entirely sure what's going on, which is also really cool. So there's a lot going on in this deck. This one's like a kind of like a cave painting. You see like the bear, maybe it's like an elk, something like that, woolly mammoth. So yeah, I really do enjoy this deck quite a lot. You can do readings with it, full-on readings, because it does have that balance and enough cards to it, which I like for full readings. And it's also nice to incorporate with other things. I would say I don't use it so often because I'm almost using it to evaluate various aspects of my life and my path and my progress. And so I don't necessarily want an update every single day. That might be a bit confusing. So that's how I go about using it a lot of the time. So that brings us to the conclusion. This was the final Oracle deck as far as I can tell. If there were any forgotten, I guess I will toss them in or maybe edit them in a different part of the video. But as far as I know, that was it. This is all the Oracle decks, although I'm really bad about keeping all my decks in one place, so we'll have to see. And yes, so that's it. We're at the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff if you want to see more. And until next time, bye guys.